What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Hey, if you see the red subscribe button down below the video, please do take a second to click it. I'm hoping to get the number. There's still about 40% of my viewers that aren't subscribed. Hoping to get that under 30. Anyway, there has been a pretty interesting update in the Kyle case, including some updates on whether or not maybe who he's going to sue. But one of the kind of forgotten factors in all of this is Dominic Black, the guy that essentially purchased his defense tool, but it wasn't really his. It's kind of this weird. I don't think it was a straw purchase, which is when you purchase something like this for somebody else. That's illegal. But what's interesting is now the federal charges have been dropped, and he's been able to settle for a couple of $1,000s. Now, a lot of people, including myself, question why he's paying anything after the charges, the pew charges for Kyle himself were dropped. Why was Dominic still getting charged? But here's the latest from yesterday. The Wisconsin man who did purchase the pew for Kyle will no longer face felony charges under a new plea deal announced Monday. Dominic Black of Racine will instead plead guilty to a reduced charge of contributing to the delinquency of a minor and pay a $2,000 fine. Now, here's the reality of it all. He shouldn't, in my opinion, be guilty of anything. But imagine being a kid. Well, he's 20 now, but he's still a kid compared to me, and facing like federal charges. This is a big deal. On top of that, legal fees, which I'm sure he's already paid, maybe $50,000, $100,000, maybe even more, right? I don't think there was any big crowdfunding for this guy. I'm not sure, maybe there was, but I mean, certainly he didn't dominate the headlines. Back when Kyle was initially charged, Dominic was actually charged with 2 counts of intentionally giving something to someone who was not old enough. And this was more political charges, quite frankly. From what I understand, Kyle never was in sole possession of it, and it is kind of a dicey situation. You know, in Wisconsin, I don't know how your laws are in each individual state, but we're probably middle of the road in terms of laws. And this is one of those that you just don't really want to mess around with. You know, it's common for a dad to get his son or daughter their first, tool for hunting or something like that. But this is a little bit different, right? He was only 18 at the time and dating Kyle's sister when he helped him out. But now, during the trial, Dominic, who was one of the prosecution's star witnesses, testified that he had bought it so the two could hunt and target practice in northern Wisconsin. Binger Boy, the assistant DA, said he did not believe he could pursue charges given Black's testimony in the trial. Well, I'm going to guess that Binger is just trying to move on, trying to, get this stain off of him. You know, quite frankly, it was absurd that he ever charged the kid. The prosecutor also cited Schroeder's, the judge, agreement with the defense during Kyle's trial that Wisconsin law does not prohibit those under 18 from possessing them. On the final day of the trial, Schroeder dismissed the charge of a minor being in possession. Again, so because that charge was dropped, I don't know why Dominic... This is the tough thing, right? We can all stand on this hill and say that we would have fought it to the bitter end. But the reality is justice is, quite frankly, can be a rich man's game. The more money you have, the more justice you generally have. The more fair trial you generally have. And that's not right. But it is, in many cases, the truth. We know, just like with, Alec, with the stuff that happened in Arizona, he's probably never going to see any real charges because these guys have so much money that they can just lock up courts forever. The courts just give up and move on to something else. In this particular case, it's easy for us, including myself, to say man, he shouldn't have gotten any charges. He shouldn't have pled to anything. But This is somebody that probably just wants to, I try to be pragmatic. Is that the right word for it? Somebody that probably just wants to get on with their life. $2,000. It's not nothing, but I mean, just to be over and done with. And it's a misdemeanor from, I think, let me double check. It doesn't say, but I'm guessing it is. So, I mean, this is not something that he has to disclose on job applications, I don't think. Maybe he could get it expunged eventually. In these circumstances, to go forward with felony charges against Mr. Black, given the court's legal ruling as well as his cooperation and the jury's decision, it does not seem appropriate. Well, he really should have dropped everything. In an email to the Associated Press, his attorney said that justice was done. I don't know, Tony Cotton. But again, it's easy for us to say that we would have just fought it to the bitter end and sold every one of our worldly possessions. And we're not a 20-year-old kid, an 18-year-old kid, really, until right now has been facing federal charges. Now, the other interesting thing, so I guess bittersweet, but good. Good this he doesn't have this hanging over him. He can get on with his life. Excuse me. Now, on the lawsuit front, what's been interesting is way back in December, Kyle said some accountability's incoming. Kyle said Monday afternoon at a Turning Point USA's America Fest in Arizona. Appearing as part of a panel alongside Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk, Kyle acknowledged that he had spoken with Nicholas Sandman, the Covington Catholic graduate who recently reached settlement with NBC Universal and suit over its portrayal of his confrontation with a Native American man. Sandman would know a thing or two about suing the media, that's for sure, Kirk said. Kyle said, my turn may be next. Now, I've got to say, it does take some time, probably, to kind of get all this stuff together. But I would expect we would have heard something, or we would hear something pretty soon by now. I'm sure that, Kyle wanted to get on with his life. He's also got the bail money issue, which he's got to, hold on a second. That's another lawsuit that he's got to deal with. And it's like $2 million. $2 million that's sitting, Now, his former lawyers are keeping that money. I don't know why they feel like they're entitled to it. I'd have to hear some wild stories. Now, the people, this Lin Wood character, maybe you guys know something more about him than I do, but I've seen a lot of his, he seems to have a lot of wild theories, and he's kind of gone off the rails. Now, he used his network to raise a bunch of money for Kyle, a successful fundraising campaign backed by a number of conservative figures. My question is, if you're Lin Wood and you think that this money, accordingly, the $2 million shall be returned to the Fight Back Foundation, and if and when such funds are released consistent with Wisconsin law and pursuant to court rulings, releasing the bail money back to the individual entity that posted the cash bail. Now, this is him saying, hey, I get my money. He may say that he fundraised it, but the question is, who donating that money, who did they think that money was going to? They, of course, thought it was going to Kyle. And the fact that it isn't or won't, I'm sure will anger a lot of people. So if Lin does get this money, get his hands on this money, I would expect everybody who donated to that foundation to be doing chargebacks and get their money back. You see, while we're busting our humps trying to raise money to see Kyle acquitted, Lin is sending letters to the court during Kyle's hearing to demand $2 million in donations for Kyle to be given to him. And again, I believe it was also, correct me if I'm wrong, Lin who thought it was a good idea to leave Kyle in prison or in jail for almost a month instead of bailing him out, even though the money was there. So he's got this, battle to go on. There's been a lot of meltdowns that they didn't get some other trumped up charges on Dominic Black. but it's good to see kind of the final bow in all of this added. And I sincerely hope Kyle drops some huge lawsuits in the very near future, because the media just can't continue to lie about people. There has to be consequences for this. You know, there's something about, you know, there's getting something wrong, which happens to me all the time, or it's, you know, having a bad opinion or uninformed one. It happens to me. But then there's like knowingly lying about somebody, like we saw with this National Geographic author, claimed that the two people Kyle had to defend himself against were black. Like, that's rejecting reality and inserting your own. And there has to be consequence for this. This author of this book, the Associated Press, they should be sued. Obviously, all the media companies that went after Kyle, they should be sued. I hope you all enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon. Huge shout out to this video's sponsor, Meta PCs. Now, I know you're not going to run out and quick buy a brand new computer just because I ran this ad, but what I would hope is that you'll keep Meta PCs in mind for a variety of reasons and use my promo code THEQUARTERING to save big at checkout. Look, Meta PCs offers custom configurations. It has insane parts availability. They're one of the few people I see out there with the brand new NVIDIA 3090 in stock and shipping. When you buy from them, they offer you build photos as they work along. When you receive your PC, it's ready to go out of the box. It's 100% US-based sales and support. And one of my favorite things, it's a veteran-owned business. Meta PCs is veteran-owned. One of Meta's owners has served in Afghanistan and Iraq and received a Purple Heart for his service. Meta also employs military veterans in the Meta Operations Center and also provides systems to veterans going back to school to help them re-enter the workforce all across the United States. Meta PCs also offers financing. Head on over to MetaPC at metapcs.com. Use code THEQUARTERING at checkout to save money and support my content. If nothing else, go configure a PC, build a little wish list, and when you're ready, remember to use code THEQUARTERING at checkout at MetaPCs. I know I'll be getting myself a brand new one before the